nudging around. These machines go fairly fast there. 55 Bill Sanford there is a new machine to him. Car 28 is Darryl Wright. Bringing up the rear of the field there is a new one this year. That's 66 Jeff Higgs. Car 99 there is Peter Guiazda. He's from up the Riverland. Car 12 is Ian Houston. They're looking set for a start. They come around and have broken formation a little bit. And Jeff Hogman says, no way, fellas. It's a bit more rough and tumble than the sprint cars, folks, and therefore they have the bars around the cars, the Nerf bars right around the cars. The only thing that's exposed is the front wheel, and the way these guys drive, they really need those bars, I can tell you. Conversely, the Victorian stock rods don't have the bars and look a little bit like sprinters, and doesn't make for good interstate competition because the Victorians tend to get knocked around a little bit. Coming in a little better this time, and there's the green flag, and away they go. And Dean Wright is on the outside of Ross Wright. Ross Wright goes high, Dean Wright goes underneath him. Des Opes is tucked in there in the black machine. Graham Mason back behind him, and then back at the rear is 55 Bill Sanford in the all-white machine. But out in front is Ross Wright in the green car number 8, Dean Wright in car 24. Then we've got Des Opes from the Riverland in the black machine going up on the infield. Graham Mason from Murray Bridge with the Mason Motor Wreckers car in car 7, trying to move along underneath him. And we've got 55 Bill Sanford, 12 Ian Houston, back to 99 Peter Guiazda. As now we've got Dean Wright in the lead there in car 24. Ross Wright in second spot. Des Opes looking for an inside line on him, and back behind him is Graham Mason. Des Opes goes high, and this allows Ross Wright to come back through underneath to hold his second spot. Des Opes is really driving onto that infield, something shocking. And Graham Mason playing a fairly safe line. Graham probably one of the most aggressive drivers up there. The car's having trouble on that corner, on turn 1 and 2 for them. Des Opes now goes underneath. Dean Wright goes up very high. Guys not used to racing on the clay surface, and normally racing on dolomite surface, which is vastly different for handling than this one. But out in front it's Dean Wright, and old Lefty's got the thing really wound up. Car 24, the race leader. And we've got a tangle over on the corner there with a couple of the cars. Looks like Ian Houston's in that. And also car 99, Peter Guiazda. While we have a moment on event 16, the placings have been held pending the hearing of a protest. There's been a protest lodged on event 16, and just hold your placings there until the result of the protest. Okay, now Ian Houston has fired his car up again, and I think she seems to be okay. These cars are incredibly hardy, and a tangle like that would have bent most others. But there's the checkered flag aloft, so the race has been declared. The race has been declared, and we'll get the official placings for you in just a moment. Would have to be Dean Wright first. That'll be out of Ross Wright and Des Opes. Houston running in third spot at the moment, with Des Opes trying to get around him. Des Opes, of course, is a state champion in the rods, and he's through into third spot. A long chase ahead of him to catch up with with Graham Mason and Ross Wright. Ian Houston being challenged now for fourth by Bill Sanford. Jeff Higgs tucked in behind him, and then Darryl Wright. But it's Roscoe Wright out in front, flying along in car 8. Car 7, Graham Mason in second spot. Then we've got Des Opes. Ian Houston up high, Bill Sanford getting through underneath, and Jeff Higgs says, this looks good, I'll try the same line. And a long way back at the rear is car 28, Darryl Wright, who seems to have some sort of problem. The car's just not firing as well as it should. Oh, and Des Opes gets crossed up coming out of the corner, slows it right down, and away he goes. As I said before, these boys aren't used to racing on a clay surface, and the car just doesn't handle like it normally would. No taken away from Ross Wright. He's really going well, as is Graham Mason. They've obviously done a bit of playing around with the cars during the break between races, and the cars are handling exceptionally well. Ross Wright in car 8, Graham Mason in car 7 running in second spot. Then Des Obst in car 1, Bill Sanford in 55. Then we've got behind him 66 Jeff Higgs, and back at the rear is Ian Houston. And then there's Darryl Wright. Was a bit of a challenge here. Graham Mason's got into the lead. Mason goes through underneath Darryl Wright, and Darryl's dad Ross isn't going to be too pleased about that. Graham Mason in the lead, and there's 66 Jeff Higgs coming stationary on the track. And the yellow light's on. The cars still race under the yellow light, but they must be aware there's an obstruction on the track. And car 66, Jeff Higgs, gets it mobile again and gets off the track. He's very, very slow. The yellow light remains on because there's still a bit of an obstruction. There goes Graham Mason trying to tuck down underneath Ian Houston. Ross Wright is caught right up with him now, and right lefty gives him a bit of a nudge and pushes him up high and gets through into the lead. That's all fair and above board in in this type of racing. Oh, and there's Ross Wright. Radiator hose is gone, the cabin of the car full of steam, and he pulls up high. Graham Mason goes through with 1 lap to go. And Ross Wright limps it around. Tragedy for him. Similar thing happened to him last year in one of the big races. But it's Graham Mason, and he's crossed up sideways, and Des Obst gets through underneath. Mason is stalled on the track. Obst goes sideways, takes the flags and all.
All the flags are gone.
And now, where do we go from here?
Jeff Hogben is not a happy man.
There's a pile of broken matchwood down there with some funny coloured rags, which was the flags.
I tell you what, the only thing Jeff Hogben is happy about that they didn't get the black and white flag.
Especially the one around him. Oh boy.
I think he might be invited back again when he can't stay so long.
Yeah. I think they say, Des, you know anybody who got a sewing machine? Well, I wouldn't have a clue what happened then. Who was first over the line or what? Over from the east, the great prophet from the east, George Tatnall. Now we promise we will keep the microphone away from him. We promise. But gorgeous George coming over next Friday night for our Speed Car Spectacular, so that'll be one to see. And he's got some really tough competition this year too, with Wigsels and the Cowland machine really going so well.
Must have been an attrition rate earlier tonight, Brian, with all of these cars scratched, only 4 running in the West End event. 6 laps on the Coca-Cola counter.
The guys have got a lot of work to do before tomorrow night's big Godfrey Trophy race up at the Murray Bridge Speedway too. It's a big Rod Trophy race up there. So there's a lot of midnight oil going to be burnt tonight.
Should have a start this time.
All bunching up there. Graham Mason looking for an outside run, and Des Obst says, this looks good, I'll try the same trick. And Mace roars away into the lead with Ian Houston and Bill Sanford back at the rear. Graham Mason and Des Obst. Ian Houston still there, and Bill Sanford. And we've still got the same situation there. After a fairly slow start, Graham Mason seems to have mastered the clay surface, as has Des Obst, who had a few scary moments earlier on there, not to mention the flags, so we won't mention them.
There's none left to mention.
Bill Sanford still in the lead, rather Bill Sanford still in third, running ahead of Ian Houston. It looks like a Graham Mason benefit at this stage. Mace holding a good line. Des Obst seems to be gaining on him. If anything, driving slightly tighter line, a bit closer to the pole line, especially on that last lap, seemed to gain about 3 lengths. And up goes Mason up high. Obst comes through underneath, says thank you very much. So the race lead changes. Des Obst out in the lead. Graham Mason in second spot. Then we've got Bill Sanford and Ian Houston, and I don't think he can regain that lead. Des Obst comes around to take the checkered flag. Graham Mason in second. I bet that hurt Jeff Hogman giving a checkered flag to Des Opes too. Bill Sanford in for third, and Ian Houston